name is Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour. Mr. Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour. Oh, there are several. One, we have a decay of our institutions, right? A decay with the perception of the judiciary and people feeling that they cannot get justice from judiciary. If you do a random polling of people in Nigeria and ask them, do you feel going to court you can get justice? Most of the answer will be negative. We also have a decay of our security architecture. You have, and for some time now, soldiers going to battlefronts ill-equipped, even though monies have been budgeted for them, and the people that actually were responsible for these budgets, funds were embezzled, and they've been accused allegedly of embezzlement of funds, and these people are rewarded with ambassadorial appointments. And even soldiers have come out to allege the fact that they are going to battlefronts ill-equipped. And also you're seeing a lot of personalization of our security apparatus, which is, you see it being used in terms of state capture for a certain political group over the other. You see it being used to oppress the common man, the common citizen. So that's another issue. Then the lack of transparency and accountability, especially as regards the huge amounts of money we are borrowing. We're borrowing so much money. We're spending so much, currently we're spending so much money servicing our debt than recurrent expenditure. And you see these monies being borrowed and you're asking, what are they doing with these monies? What productive seeds are they sowing that the Nigerians and future generations will benefit from? That is generally the way a nation ought to develop. If you are taking debt, debt is supposed to be used as seed that will then produce development that will then create a society that's generating a lot more revenue. That's not the case. And another big problem is our social fabric as a nation is really pulling apart. There's a lot of division. There's a lot of government by propaganda. You might have seen recently where they declared that the refinery in Port Harcourt is working again. And I was happy when I heard that. But they don't even let me to be happy for up to a day. The next day, I'm hearing that, okay, is naphtha and something else that they are mixing. They've pretty much turned the refinery to a blending plant. And billions of naira, even dollars maybe, had been appropriated for this. So what is going on? And then you see Nigeria Air. I mean, I could just sit down here and just be listing all the fraudulent things. And the government by propaganda, this kind of theater of, the more you look, the less you see. So the people are losing faith in government, and that's a very dangerous thing. It might work well for the political elite on the short term. When people feel that they don't have a government or institutions that work for them, they lose hope. And after they lose hope, there are two things. Either they become despondent and run away, japa across deserts or seas to disappear, or they take the law into their own hands. I don't think it's constant. I think with the reality that people are having in Nigeria now, the fact that people are not protesting every day makes me wonder whether we are normal people. I know people that are hardworking, good people that cannot afford to eat every day now. They eat today, they don't eat tomorrow. They eat the next day. I know so many people like that. I know so many people that they get hospital bills and they simply cannot afford to pay. They just go home and just wait to die. Right? Like, Nigeria is really, really hard. So the fact that everybody's just carrying on, I don't know, maybe you'll say it's a testament to our resilience. But I know that if this was happening anywhere in Europe, it would be a very, very different ball game. A very different ball game. And maybe that's why they are where they are today. Because a political elite is a reflection of its people. A political elite is a reflection of its people. If they believe that they can get away with something, it's because the people let them get away with it. It's just that simple. I don't think any international community ought to help with any protest, to be honest with you. I feel that every nation has its lifespan, and the things, it grows, right? Some people might be more resilient than others, but at a point, people will have to stand up to people that are, oppressing them, because oppression. You cannot say that people should be buying petrol at such a high price, kerosene at such a high price, light at such a high price. Meanwhile, you are completely funded by the government. You are buying new cars as if it's going out of fashion. Your children are traveling on and attending functions with our money, right? You are buying a new jet. Meanwhile, people are suffering. So at some point, the people are going to have to decide, you know what, this is not working out. And until that point comes, the conversation should be within them, because that's the only way growth really happens. When you force people into things, it's never sustainable. Whatever conflict or engagement that happens with government should lead to a sustainable step forward in the interest of the people. There are things that I feel that Nigeria needs to align its interests with some foreign partners. Well, I don't believe security is one of them. I feel that as Nigerians, we need to get serious. They say, I'm going to paraphrase a quote. They say, those that sacrifice their freedom for protection deserve neither. Right? If you as a people cannot get your act together to ensure that you are creating a secure landmass, but you want to subcontract that to somebody else, you don't deserve that freedom and you don't deserve that protection. And you see that this is what has happened all over Francophone Africa in the Sahel region, which is why they are now kicking out the French. Because they are there saying they are your security partners, but really they are just there to enforce the rape of your minerals, of your resources, right? The control and the capture of your political system at the detriment of the people. So for me, we can have partners that can give us support based on technology we don't have. So for instance, surveillance, right? Satellite imagery, helping us to be able to, from a distance, in a satellite command type of way, give us intelligence. But that intelligence must be meeting a well-organized military operation that is well-funded, well-trained, well-looked after, right? Our men on ground should be well-trained, well-looked after, right? I mean, think about, there was a time when Nigeria was like, its military was controlling ECOMOG. And if we had a situation in Africa, we could deploy our military to go and solve that problem. That is it. When you fund and train a military, they should do what they're supposed to do. So I am not one for, there are certain things that should not be compromised or subcontracted as far as I'm concerned. Education. You must get your act together and educate your people. Don't let your education be done by somebody else, no matter how good it is. Till today, they are still teaching children that Mungo Park discovered River Niger. Meanwhile, Mungo Park came to Africa and saw your ancestors there. But they are teaching an African, a Nigerian is teaching another Nigerian child that your whole ancestors were not able to discover a river that was in their land. It took a man from Europe to come and discover it. They are the ones teaching our children that now. You see what I'm saying? So education should not be subcontracted. You can partner on health to a degree, but you must have your own research institutions to make sure that whether it's immunization that you're getting, whatever it is, you are doing your own testing So no foreign body is giving you something that you are not confident is in the interest of your people. Because guess what? You look at the world, you're constantly hearing Europe's population is going down. This population, America's population is going down. It's only Africa's population that's going up. You always hear that, oh, the birth rates have to slow down in Africa. We have to reduce the population of Nigeria, Africa, all of that. You never hear we have to reduce population of anywhere else. So now the question is this. If you are just going to be taking things without testing, what makes you think? You see, we need partners. As Africans, we've been brainwashed too much to think everybody wants to be our friend, without understanding what our interests should be first, and then looking at the world through our interests and the interests of our people, right? So, I think I'll leave that question there. Yes, I feel that until we have a strong military, now we can all say we have a strong military. There's no, you should not be doing joint military exercises. It's like 14 laws of power. There's a law that says you should not partner with, you should not go to war with an ally that is stronger than you. You will eventually be dominated. Eventually. And we should not be pushing this responsibility away from our leadership. They must create a strong military. We need a strong military. We are over 200 million people. Over 200 million people. Are we saying we cannot have a force that can defend us? If these people just come tomorrow, if Europe decides tomorrow that, listen, why are we paying for Africa's resources? Why can't you just take it? Who will defend us? Which military will defend us? Which technology do we have? Look at Iron Dome in Israel. Look at the way when they sent missiles into Russia. Russia replied with supersonic missiles. Look at when they tried anything with Iran. Look at how Iran responded. Where is that force in Africa? I mean, we've learned if there's any group of people that should be paranoid about defending themselves, it should be the African. The African has been enslaved. The African has been colonized. The African has experienced neo-colonialism, which is still ongoing now, and which is what Francophone Africa is dealing with. There are people that are flying out of this country in private airstrips with our resources that the state has, they don't have radar. They cannot see them on the radar. So, as a people, we need to have a strong military. When we've built a strong military, we can look at our partners and say, okay, in this regard, we can partner out here and do these kind of joint exercises. No. Especially the Middle Belt, right? And I don't know if it's going to be a solely military resolve that will bring peace to that place. There must be an ideological, holistic plan as well that will build bridges as opposed to continue to allow for this division that then normalizes killing other people. And then also, we must also understand the fallout of the Libya crisis and a lot of other crises that have happened in Sahel region that have come down, and Nigerians have inherited that. You find that a lot of these militants, a lot of these terrorists that are moving around, a lot of them are not Nigerian. A lot of them, right? So that the military has to step in there. But then with Nigerians and the communities, education, informal and formal, and then local policing, these things need to be put in place to protect lives and property. I think that there are a number of things that you must look at. You don't, when you are looking at things like that, you don't make a decision just on the fight. There's a bigger picture. Now, when I started pushing the idea against genetic modified foods, GMOs, the understanding of the weaponization of food, right? Because they come to you with all this GMO can do, GMO can do that, but you are not controlling the development of it. There are potential things that can affect your body, that can be programmed to affect your body, that jeopardize your food sovereignty because you have to go back and buy the seeds every year. Europe has banned it, but they were so insidious in pushing it in our government, in our system. Now it has been approved. But Russia will tell people, anybody that will treat anybody that plants GMO on their land as a terrorist. So in that regard, I align more with Russia, right? At the same time, I also know for a fact that, you see, so then you also have to look at the history of relationships and partners with different countries. So for instance, you look at the relationship with Namibia and Russia, they have a very strong relationship that goes back historically. And also, it must be noted that Russia actively fought a lot of colonial oppression side by side with Africans, right? Russia did that, especially in East Africa. There was a lot of that. And then you also have China. China is more of an economic partner. Obviously, it's very strong militarily, but it really has built a very good relationship in terms of we will fund. How they fund is also questionable. It's not just about collecting money, it's how they do it, right? But I feel that Nigeria, we're talking about Nigeria, right? Nigeria needs to look and see, what does Nigeria need? Nigeria needs weapons. Nigeria needs intelligence. And you look, I would rather deal with Russia or China for several reasons. One, the world order is changing. We're now going into a multipolar world. And the whole crisis with Ukraine and the crisis with Gaza has really brought it to the fore. I would like to see Nigeria join the BRICS. I would like to see Nigeria make decisions where its currency is valued based on the capacity and resources that it has, which is real money. That's the origin of money. A promissory note that was backed by a resource. Now people print money, and because you have a military that can go in and invade countries and destroy anybody that's working against it, your currency is strong. But that needs to change for us to come out of the poverty that we are in. Because there is no reason why we are sitting on some of the world's largest deposits of any resource, and we are called poor. Nobody goes to colonize a poor place. Have they gone to colonize Antarctica? Why haven't they gone to colonize the Sahara Desert? Right? Nobody does that. People go and spend resources, colonize places that are resource rich. So, I would like to, because we cannot keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. But we must go into partnerships with our eyes open. We must go into partnerships, and it must be led by leaders that have vision, that have far-reaching vision. Look at what was China 40, 50, 60 years ago. Even Russia, after the Soviet crisis and they came down, look where they were before they came back up, right? And it's a different type of relationship. And you find that America also has a different type of relationship that's more about dominating and exploiting. That's just a fact. It's a fact. That relationship is more about dominating and exploiting, getting things not at the fair price, right? And time, and it doesn't help that the leaders also do not have vision because they get tied in debt. But then you look at African history and see every leader that stood up to say, no, let us build our way out of poverty. Let's not collect loans. They were assassinated. They were killed. Look at Lumumba, look at Sankara, look at so many Francophone presidents that were murdered. That stood up and said, no, let us do things differently for the interest of our people. Let's build. We don't have to be so tied down by debt and then controlled by that, right? So those are some of the things. I cannot say, oh, China over Russia. I feel at any point we need to look at what are the things we need. If Nigeria wants to be a powerhouse of Africa, we need to build a solid arms system, solid weaponry that can stand, that can allow Africa to stand and say, no, we don't agree. If you do anything, we do back. We need to get to that point. We cannot just be floating. We are the only ones. We are the only ones. You can't, at least, if you do anything with China, even North Korea that has been by themselves for so long, there will be response. We can barely defend our own territory inside it, right? So we need partnership in technology. We need to start have solid research that's producing solid arms, solid weapons for defense. Africans are not known to go and colonize anybody or steal anybody's land, but we must be able to defend our territory. And that's the vision. And if we start to look at Russia as a strategic partner in that regard, or China as a strategic partner in that regard, we'll be fine. It's actually funny. Sorry, one last anecdote. You know, when the Boers or the Afrikaans in South Africa relinquished their hold over South Africa in terms of apartheid and that government that were handing over to Nelson Mandela. You know, they were the first ones to sign the agreement to stop their nuclear program. They were the first. Literally, because South Africa had nuclear weapons. Yeah, they were a powerhouse. South Africa had enough nuclear weapons, had a solid arsenal. But once they knew it was going to be in the hands of black people, this is a fact. Because why did they not do it when they were the ones running things? They were the first to sign all the protocols. They were the first. Why should Africa not have its own nuclear weapons program? Why? We should. We should be able to defend ourselves. We should. It's not even one that you say you are going to use it in war. It's a deterrent. And it then allows for respect. It allows for respectful conversations. You understand? So those are my thoughts on that. Well, I just give you an example. I'm very anti-genetic modified foods. I'm very anti-growing seeds that's being produced in a lab that you have no control over, without the research capacity or the regulatory capacity, or even not the regulatory capacity, even the there's a word for it, the ability to just observe and test what are the effects of these foods. You don't have it. And then you're just going to grow it because someone gave it to you. So in that regard, I'm for natural organic agriculture. And between these countries you mentioned, the ones that do it the best is Russia, as far as I'm concerned. And the ones that have those kind of regulatory laws are Russia. So in terms of agriculture, I'm definitely be looking to partner with Russia. China's infrastructure, they've shown their capacity. They've shown their capacity to build things. The issue, though, is, and this is a complaint around most of Africa, is that they come with everything, down to a nail, down to a hammer, down to tissue paper. And I understand it because they produce everything. But there must be a transfer of knowledge to a local population. There must be a capacity for a project to be able to also create secondary ripples in the economy for local manufacturers. So there must be a change in that dynamic. You can't say you're giving me a building, you're going to fund a building, they just come and it's almost like you just bought the building from China and just put it there. And there was no benefit to the local economy. That needs to change, right? Because again, Africa must think Africa first. What's our interest? That's what every other person does. It's only us that just come and sit at the table and just looking and waiting for them to tell us something. America thinks America first. Right? Every country, Europe thinks Europe first. They might lie and do propaganda and paint things in a way to make them look like they're good guys when they're doing things that are contradictory to what they profess, but they're thinking about their interest. What I've learned in life as I've gotten older, especially when you look at geopolitics, it's not about good or bad, it's about interest. It's about interest. It depends on how you break that down. Africa is resource rich. Africa has rare earth, and that's very important for batteries. It has lithium, that's very important for electric batteries, and a lot of new technology that people are using, and is the source of it. So everybody that's in an arms race, that's trying to develop, that's trying to be on the front end of technology, obviously wants a piece. Now, Africa has not helped itself in the fact that there is no one voice. The African Union that we have is being funded by Europe and America. We are not even funding our own African Union. So how can we speak with a voice for Africans? We must fund our union. We must take ourselves seriously. So yes, different is like I mean, if you have a lot of nice cars in your compound and people want to drive your car, different people come with different offers and different things. It's up to the African as a country, as a people, to come together. Because you see, these lines that they drew that separated us is still holding us apart. It's so bad, you want to post something to Namibia, it must go to Germany first before it gets to Namibia. We are not properly interconnected, right? We are not trading with ourselves. Some places you need visa to travel to in Africa, right? So we need to get our act together. Yes, there's definitely competition. You hear them say it all the time. America, you listen in Central, they're saying Africa, China is getting a hold, China is doing this, China is doing that. Some people will say that Burkina Faso and the Sahel region, Russia is coming in there, Russia is the one giving them backup and all of that. But Africans should not let themselves be colonized again. We should not. It will be a big mistake. And these things don't happen overnight. It's about how you are managing. For instance, I give you an example. If China is looking at you, an African country, you've collected all this money as loans, you cannot pay back. You now start seizing some of your assets. They've seized some of your assets. As a country, you don't have any other, all the assets that you own are now China's own. They might as well colonize you now. You're already colonized. I saw one country that had Chinese policemen or something. I forget. I remember I saw the training for that. Right? So African leaders, it's good to have partners. But you must have a vision for that partnership. And that vision must be something that's carrying your people to a better place than where they were before you had that partnership. I mean, they've shown their capacity. I don't think anybody can doubt that. Even if you doubt it, you will find that anything that is causing delay or anything like that is from the Nigerian side. That's just the truth. Chinese people are extremely efficient at what they do, and what they are doing is like a drop in the ocean when you look at what they've achieved in China. Like the kind of bridges they've done, they've broken records, they've set records, the type of bridges and things that they've done in China. So it's like a drop in the ocean. So they're extremely efficient, and I just feel that we need leaders. I believe that if we have the right set of leaders that get the best deal for people, China will be open to that. China is ready to deal. And more than anything, if you are serious to deal, I think most partners outside of the colonial forces, because you see, it's a different relationship. Let me explain to you. If a man met a woman abducted her, raped her, slapped her up and down, had his way with her for some time, then left. He sees that woman in a certain way. I'm sorry to use woman. I'm just trying to illustrate something.
Yeah, sure.
And when we talk about a country, we think about a feminine person. So I'm not advocating for, you understand. Now, another man meets this woman after she's, calmed down, and she doesn't have the bruises on her, at least not on the surface. Good looking and everything. The way he deals with her, and the way he sees her, the way he respects her, will be very different from this other person. So the approach is different. And that's what it is. So when you look at the way, look at what France is doing in Francophone Africa. Like the audacity of it, up until now, saying that anything under the ground must go to them first. We must store our reserves in your country. You are controlling our currency. Like the audacity of it. And then you see that every leader that stood up against them was somehow assassinated, a coup happened, or whatever. Do you see how many times they've tried to do coup against the current leader of these countries? They've tried so many coups, poured in so many millions of dollars, right? Why they should leave these people alone to be able to develop at their pace and grow. So that's what I think. I feel that we as a people, we need to have a vision for ourselves, and then the partners will plug into that vision. Oh yes. It is very easy to see that the current administration is heavily backed by the Democratic Party in America. That's certain. In so many ways. Yeah, that's the answer to your question. No, 100% no. No, even Sani Abacha, as we criticize him so much, he had the good sense to say no to any country having that is literally the first step of colonization. You are a sovereign country that has the destiny of 200 million human beings in your hand. Why are you letting another country have a military base in your country? Are you stupid? For me, it just shows leadership that does not care about his people, does not care about the future of his people. Like, do you know what a military base is? A military base, do you know that a military base, another soldier cannot just walk into that military base? A soldier of your country cannot just walk into that military base within that same country. You know that? Yeah. It's like an embassy, only that there are weapons that are there and soldiers. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? No. Have your own solid army. Have your own solid military. Once you are solid, you can do training. There was a time where our military used to go to Sandhurst to do training. Some of them used to go to Pakistan to do training. You can say, okay, some of our military people can go to Russia and do training. Some of our military people can go to China and do training. They do training, especially with weapons development, especially with technology, science and technology. They can go cross-exchange of ideas and all of that. Then you can do joint military exercises. Then you can actually start to form alliances. Because this one, we are not aligned. Where is that taking us to? It has just made you just float. You just literally float. You have no vision. You are neither going forward. You are going backward, really, because the military that we have today cannot do a tenth of what ECOMOG was doing back then. Right? So you need alliances, right? You need alliances. You can choose to have economic alliances like the BRICS alliance, which is extremely valuable. I don't know why Nigeria is not there. Well, you know why I know why Nigeria is not there. Because Nigeria is looking to America. But then you see what is happening to your currency, the decimation of it, you see the level of inflation, and you don't see the opportunity of having another type of currency that can potentially be backed by the level of commodities that you have in your country. The Russia-Ukraine war has made me respect Russia. It has. There's a lot of propaganda that goes on in the world today, and I know that there are a lot of people that don't look past the headlines. When you need to listen to someone like Jeffrey Sachs, who is a professor, highly intelligent American, dissect what has happened and created this thing. There was an agreement that Ukraine will not join NATO, that NATO will not expand and bring its forces to the border of Russia. That agreement was there. There was an election that happened. A coup was then backed by foreign interest, right? Then an expansion of NATO now started happening. And Russia said, this was not what we agreed. This is not what we agreed. We are going to protect our sovereignty. You cannot just come and put... America will never accept for that kind of thing to happen. America will never accept for it to happen. Right? No country that's worth its weight would allow for a foreign military to have such arsenals right at its border. Right? So, yes, it's very sad about the many lost lives that have been lost and everything. But we must look at this. This thing did not happen overnight. It did not escalate overnight. There were several times where Russia tried to de-escalate this thing, tried to hold Ukraine and NATO to agreements that were made earlier. Right? And they didn't. That's a very tough one. Well, there's some, it just comes to my head. There's Africa. There's one that the state Secretary of State recently banned. The American Secretary of State banned. He literally made a speech about it. I think it's African Stream or Africa Now, something, it will come to me. Blinken said that it's a propaganda arm of Russia, which is complete rubbish. I followed the page. They tell the truth. If you know your history, you will see everything that they said there is true. There is no lie. There was no propaganda. You cannot call truth propaganda. You can't. You cannot call truth propaganda. The question is it true or false? That you don't like the truth does not mean you can call it propaganda. I just give you an example of a speaker, of an economist that I truly respect, Jeffrey Sachs. He is fantastic, highly intelligent, and he speaks the truth. You know, who else? And just read. You have to take time to read. Read the history of these countries. Read the history of Africa in relation to these countries. You know, and just expand your horizon, and you'll be able to question. And we as Africans, we need to learn to question. We should not just be spoon-fed. CNN said this, so it must be true. No. What is CNN's interest in telling you that? RT, Russia Today told you this. No. Question. What is Russia's interest? Right? Everybody has an interest. What is our own interest? This is the problem. As Africans, we have not yet put that hat on. What is our own interest? We are literally just the pawns on the chess table. And we are just being moved by unseen hands. We need to cross to the other side, crown ourselves, and get on the board and start to play the game properly. I honestly cannot say I'm informed enough to answer that question confidently. I know that there are a number of countries that give grants to journalists to, do this or do that, or maybe support them in terms of investigation and all of that. But that's not my field. I'm not in the media, so I cannot speak authoritatively on that. In relation to how people perceive different countries, again, it goes back to international news media and what people choose to watch. Obviously, CNN got a foothold in Nigeria very early on. But I think as any mature mind or educated mind gets older, they should be able to see the hypocrisy. They should also be able to see the contradictions and then start to dissect information that they are getting from any news outlet. They must ask themselves, what is the interest, right? And it's through that lens you can then listen to CNN, listen to Al Jazeera, listen to Russia Today or RT. I know the CC something is the China one. Take everything, listen to it, then now look at it as an African. Why is this information coming like this? Who are these people? Look outside of this information that's being fed to you to be able to get a reality of what is actually going on, because everybody has their own interest. The Nigerian people need to take this democracy seriously. They do. It is a life and death matter. And I think that it has not fully sank in. Because, you see, if you continue running a country or running your affairs without any vision to manage the destinies and lives of over 200 million people, while our population is projected by 2060, 2070 to double, then you are just asking for a banana republic. And unfortunately, no matter what opinions we have, if we don't have the right people in government to actually make these decisions, to be able to sit down with world leaders and craft a vision, right, in the interest of their people, to be able to say, no, I'm not looking for this short-term reward where I'm going to get this kickback of a couple of billion and then I'll sell out my people. I'm interested in the 10-year payback that the generations that are coming are going to benefit. Look at Nordic countries, right? Their sovereign wealth fund does not come into the country's economy. It stays out. They use it and they've invested in all the future technologies, whether it is solar, whether it's alternative energy, so that the unborn generations will benefit from that. Look at what Saudi Aramco has done with the kind of funds that it has built. Look at the kind of sovereign wealth fund that is using to invest outside, right? Meanwhile, we here, our governors are fighting, they must share the money today, they must share the money today. Oh yeah, what have they built with that money that they shared? And look, I've traveled around this country. I've traveled, that's something people don't realize about me. Because my business, there's no local government Oyo I've not been to. There's no local government Ondo I've not been to. When I was exporting cashew, I would go by road from Lagos, go across Oyo, go to Kogi, Aingba, Nasarawa, then go to parts of and end up through Kogi in Enugu, Cross River. So I've seen, not from the air. And Nigeria, we have a long way to go until we have visionary leaders. I mean, our founding fathers and the people that fought for freedom, they were visionary. They were philosopher kings. They had ideas. They had vision. Now we just have people that just want to enter office and they are big men. I'm a big man, so now I should be the governor. I'm a big man, so now I should be the president. I have money, so now I should have power. It's never about a vision. And the leaders that fought for the freedom of African countries from colonization, a lot of them had vision. They had to articulate it. They had to sell the idea. And we need to go back to that. Right? So to do that, we need our people to participate more in elections. It cannot be, people that are buying votes should not be the ones that are getting to office because they bought votes. It's about their vision for you, their vision for your children, your grandchildren, and a greater Nigeria and a greater Africa as a whole. There's this man, I'll end it by saying, quoting Professor Lumumba. He said, the day Nigeria wakes up, Africa will never be the same again.